Hi, welcome to the Visionista podcast. I'm your host, Jessica East of Noir Marketing and PR. This podcast is for entrepreneurs where we talk about business and work-life balance. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Visionista podcast. I'm your host, Jessica East, and I am here with my friend Audrey from the YWCA. Would you like to give everybody a little background on what you do?
Absolutely. So I am Audrey Starr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at YWCA Dayton, and I have been there for coming up on 5 years. Any of you in the nonprofit world, that's really like dog years, so it probably feels like 10 or 15 equivalent. What I'm responsible for is really telling the YWCA story and making sure that the community knows who we are, what we do, and why it matters.
Awesome. And then what does the YWCA do? Because here in town we have the YMCA, which many people are familiar with because they go use the gyms and maybe their kids do soccer there. What is the YWCA? Because those are two different entities.
They are, and most people think that they are affiliated. They are not. They never have been. They are both over 100 years old, but they were started in a time before Google, and they couldn't check and see if another was using the same letters, so here we are. But YWCA is the world's largest and oldest multicultural organization for women. And so it's not even just here in Dayton, it is across the nation, it is across the world. So here in the US, we are one of over 200 local associations for YWCA. And our mission is eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all.
Mm-hmm. So very timely. This is like everything going on right now is your jam. You have been preparing for all of these social conversations for a very long time.
We have it. It has been a year, that is for sure. At YWCA Dayton specifically, it's also our 150th anniversary this year. Into 2020, we certainly had a different vision for how we were going to celebrate this year that has been turned upside down, but the fact of the matter is that we are still celebrating 15 decades of serving the Miami Valley, and we do that in a couple of different ways. But one of the interesting threads is that for all 150 years, our mission has been the same, and we have been housing and sheltering and supporting women all 150 years. And it's just kind of ebbed and flowed depending on what the community needed. So when we started, we had our first program was the Widow's Home, which still exists. As its own separate nonprofit. It broke off as its own nonprofit in the 1950s. But it was a home for women who were left destitute when their spouse passed away. Women couldn't own land in 1870. They couldn't have their own property. And if they didn't have a family member that could step in and support them, they were left destitute. And so we opened a home for women to make sure that they had a safe place to go, that they could afford and still be safe. And so that's what it looked like in 1870. You fast forward to today, we're the only domestic violence shelters in Montgomery and Preble counties. We have 4 transitional housing programs for women and several other programs. But to be able to see that thread go for all 15 decades, that whatever women have needed in our community, we have been there to provide that.
That's awesome. And that jumps right into giving back, which is the reason I wanted to talk to you today, not only because the Y stands for things that I personally support, and we've worked together in the past on things, but I think it's just good for your community to try and leave it better, than where you found it. So what are some ways that people can give back to the Y? Why should people give back to not only the YWCA, but other nonprofit, agencies in their communities? Because not everybody listening, is here in town. Why is that important to support agencies and nonprofits such as the Y?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is we are getting up and doing this work every single day. In the case of YWCA, 24/7, 365. This is not our first pandemic that we have suffered through in 100 years. We have been through wars and recessions and epidemics and pandemics, so we'll get through this too. But I think it's important to remember that we are on those front lines. We are getting up. We are turning the lights on. We are making sure that there is shelter and support for people every single day. And so to be able to support that, especially if you're in a position to do so with your business, as the marketing director, one of the things I like to tell people is we each have our own sphere of influence influence. And if you're a business owner, you have an entire audience that knows you but may not know us. And so by you using your megaphone to amplify our message, to say this is an organization that matters in our community, I support them, will you join me? That is going to do leaps and bounds more than what I as one staff person can accomplish. And it really makes a difference. And you can see that snowball effect, that if we have, two businesses doing that on top of the information that we're always going to share, it really amplifies that message. And then together we can have that collective impact.
Mm-hmm. So what is the best way a business can support you? You just mentioned, kind of them grabbing their own megaphones and letting people know, hey, this is important to us, we're supporting them. What are some ways that people have maybe partnered with you in the past, or ways you would like to see people partner with you moving forward?
People are really creative, which is one of my favorite things, to see the different ideas that come through. We just had the Dayton Independent Film Festival that came to us and said, we want to give a portion of ticket proceeds to you all, and specifically the racial justice and social justice initiatives that you have happening this year. We've had people who will do donation drives among their staff. We will have people who typically do a jeans day or a dress down day on Fridays, that if you pay in $1, you can dress down for the day, and then they'll give those proceeds to us. So really looking for ways to incorporate things you might already be doing with your team, and then use to support YWCA, or if you're looking for something as a team builder, or something to add on to a training that you're doing with your staff. We've had a lot of people who maybe they're doing a diversity and inclusion training, and they add this as an additional way to build out that training. So there's kind of a whole spectrum depending on what businesses have available, but we really encourage that, if it's something that you're already used to and you can tack this on, it's going to more natural to you, and you're going to be more energized and passionate about it. But everything from coming in as a group to volunteer, even now we have precautions in place. It's smaller groups than maybe would send 30 or 50 people. We are only doing 10 right now, but by virtue of having so many different programs, we can even spread people out. So they're working in pairs and things like that. And following all of those COVID precautions, but really just engaging with us and saying, here's what we have to offer, where can we plug in, and being able to have that conversation is really important. And then it's that win-win on both sides of something you were looking to fill a need for anyways, and so were we.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know. So it sounds like if somebody said, hey, I have this idea, we really want to support you, we're thinking XYZ, you would be willing to consider a lot of variances in things, other than just like writing a check or showing up, to clean something or to work in the kitchen. I know you've got a kitchen for the people that are there. So that's really good to know. Is there anything that you need specifically? I mean, other than, people doing a fundraiser and just writing checks, is there like a thing you need, or like manpower to do something? I know you just redid the building. You've been remodeling the building here in Dayton for the last 12 to 18 months. Do you still need, any manpower kind of things, or you're just open to any kind of idea?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we definitely see it as that kind of continuum, that spectrum of, we have our Y wish list, we call it, on our website, ywcadayton.org.
Cool.
A running list of those tangible needs like shampoo and diapers and umbrellas and things like that. So if you're looking for specific things to give, we certainly have our donation forms online, so you can certainly write that check and give that way if that's what you feel called to do. But then we also have opportunities such as we have upwards of 40 different groups for our clients and residents, everything from groups around financial literacy to social groups around arts and crafts to faith denominations that come in. And so, those are really led by community members. And so whether that's people using their own expertise, we have a lot of people who have that financial expertise that come and lead those financial literacy classes. We have people who are nutritionists or own a nutrition business that come in and do fitness or health and wellness classes. And maybe that's what giving back looks like to you. And certainly it's that win-win of you get to get in front of some people and talk about what you do and what you're passionate about, but then also helping us provide additional services and resources for the women and families that we serve.
Well, that's really awesome. And that would be good. I know a lot of our listeners are small businesses. I think a lot of people are just getting started, so they may not be able to cut a check. They may not have a team of 20, 30, 40, 50 people who can do a jeans day or something, but they have skills, they have talent. So, maybe they could take a couple hours one day and help people manage a checkbook, figure out how that works, or maybe go over a resume or something, cleaning up a resume to get a job. So pretty much you're willing to meet people wherever their skills are, just to kind of help the people that you serve. So, and that's really awesome. Coming into giving season, thankful season, we talked before we started, Giving Tuesday is December 1st this year. So do you have anything special that you're focusing on for Giving Tuesday this year?
Thanks to COVID, we're still figuring out a little bit. The last 2 years, we have actually flipped the script, and instead of asking people to give to us, we have given back to them through free coffee, both in Montgomery County and in Preble County, and made it really just a day of us being thankful for what everybody does to support us the other 364 days of the year. And we're still trying to figure out if that's doable with all of the safety precautions in place this year. It might need to look a little different. The other side of things is that our 150th birthday, not even just the year, but is actually on Thanksgiving this year, November 26th.
Oh, awesome.
To see if we can maybe tie in a way that's still safe for everybody, those two things. But really, emphasizing this year that the pandemic has hit everybody hard, but it's especially hit women hard. And it's especially impactful for survivors of domestic violence. So our services have not only not stopped, they have increased. That our hotline calls have gone up and down, but throughout the year, the lethality of calls, so the number of callers who are calling with that immediate, urgent, not calling for resources necessarily, not calling for safety planning, not calling for supportive listening, but calling to say, I am in immediate danger.
Help me now.
That number has tripled this year. And so really kind of tying all of that together to say, along that spectrum, however you can give back, whatever that looks like, maybe it's even just we drop off some posters or some hotline stickers that you can make available in your business or put up in the restrooms in your business. Even something that sounds as simple as that would really have an impact.
Awesome. So I'll put a link up on the actual podcast itself to the website. And then I'll get a link up to the wish list too, so you can see like the regular YWCA website, and then also specifically the wish list. So if you're feeling like, hey, this sounds like a good thing, I want to do something here, you can see what the needs are and then see what's a good fit for you. We've talked a lot about businesses partnering with you and things businesses can do, but I know that you partner with just single people too. Not single people, like not in a relationship single, but just like a guy who's like, hey, I want to go, build something or wash dishes or whatever. And surprisingly, I do volunteering around town, and I'm in a sorority alumni chapter now. But many people that I talk to are shocked. They're like, oh, you mean you can just call them and go volunteer? I think some people, not everybody, but I think some people are in the mindset that you can only go volunteer if you're with a large group, such as, Kiwanis, Junior League, a church group, your corporate group that you work with. But that's actually not true. If you're just an individual, you can actually contact the Y and say, hey, I would like to come in and volunteer. So how would just an individual go about doing that if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. That we take, individuals, we take youth, we take groups, we take a couple of people at a time. It's really across the spectrum, and there is a need and a use for all of those scenarios. So you had mentioned our kitchen and our domestic violence shelter. We have both one-time volunteers, but also recurring volunteers. So we have a few volunteers who will come and help serve meals and aid our cooks and our food operations team in the shelter, and we'll do that 2 or 3 times a month. We have people who will pick up food donations for us out in the community. We have a lot of relationships with local restaurants that will donate food to us at the end of the day for use in our shelter kitchen. And so maybe you just drive around and kind of play YWCA Dayton DoorDash for us and get to us. And that's the way you volunteer. And you obviously can do that as an individual. You can make that a family affair, but you don't have to. And so the first way to get started would be to go to our website. We'll have that volunteer link on there for you, but you can see our current opportunities. So if you have any current needs and you run that through Volunteer Match, you can sign up right then. It's going to connect you to our volunteer coordinator. And then she's going to do something very similar with kind of getting to know you, getting to know your needs. What is it that you want out of this experience? What is it that you're really looking for or have a heart for, and make sure that we match you up accordingly. One of the benefits of having multiple programs across this really, wide and broad mission is that there is going to be a fit for you and what you're passionate and energized about, and we can make that match for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered all the points that I wanted to cover today. Is there anything else that you feel is important for someone to know, either about the why specifically, or just volunteering and nonprofits in general?
I mean, I think really, like you said, just starting that conversation and not being afraid to ask a question. I think sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, is this a dumb question? Or, are they going to think that I don't know anything to ask it? We love answering questions. That's what we're here for, whether we are helping somebody in a crisis situation or we're helping somebody in the community who wants to help those people. We are here as that resource. And we would much rather hear the question and be able to have that conversation than have misinformation or have people kind of answering those questions on their own. Just able to be that resource. We are 24/7, so you'll never wake us up. You can ask a question or call at any point in time. And I think just really understanding that we are all in this together, and that, we will be doing the work, but the more people we have who understand that work and are able to help spread the word in the community that help is available, resources are available, these are all the programs that are available, and really see that as an asset in the community and help tell others about it. That's what we really love to hear.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I'll put some links on here to your website. And then also you have social media presence as well. So we can put those there. So, very, very surface, at the very least, like those pages, follow those pages, see what's going on, because as you said, sometimes it's just as simple as sharing information, and it's not always to get volunteers. Maybe there's somebody in a crisis who doesn't realize that's what you do because they've got you confused with the other why, and they don't know that you might be able to help them, if they need it. So we'll make sure all those links are up, and then I guess just get involved during the season of thankfulness this year, being thankful for what we have and our gifts and abilities, and, give back where you are able to. So
Exactly.
awesome. Thanks so much. This has been the Visionista.